Does that work? Sure.
Yeah, you're alive.
All right, thank you everybody for coming. I'll call the regular board meeting of the Southwest New Brunswick Regional Service Commission to order. It's about 5:35 p.m. I would like to say we have a full complement of people here this evening. Is there any declaration of conflict of interest? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to adopt the agenda.
Also move
Information from
this one.
yeah, from that, do we have a second?
So,
Second by Jim, question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. And then we have adoption of the board minutes of March 26, 2026.
I moved to the minutes from the board meeting March 26th.
There's a motion from John. Do we have a second? Second by Harvey. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. I'm gonna suggest that we switch the agenda around a little bit. I would like to move up the moment of silence for Kate Aggie. I just want to acknowledge what a valuable board member she has been over the last year, and I think it was truly shocking for all of us to lose her so suddenly. So maybe if we just have a moment of silence. Thank you. I don't know anybody around the table. I just thought it might be appropriate if anybody has some thoughts about it that they wanted to share before we move on, or.
Sure.
All right, I'm going to turn to you.
Start, no, I really admired, how she stepped up to the town of St. Andrews and took on the role after Brad resigned, and, I also admired how she handled the room, when she, and a tough room at that, when you're going through your zoning and your municipal bylaws with the rural residents, she was so calm. I know she kept that teacher vibe, I think that's what it was, but I really admired how she handled that, and in a calm manner, and I admire all her volunteers and that she's done, she did a lot, and her life was for everything. And I'll leave it at that. I'm sure there's other conversations. Thank you for the time.
Oh.
Why educate through education? And I taught at the same time. We were both involved in the University Teachers Association. I knew her. Then when she went on to become a counselor and mayor in St. Andrews, she was always still the same Kate that I knew from when she was a teacher. She had a very good heart, good attitude, and she truly loved what she was doing.
I have to say, I didn't know her very well. The only way I knew her was through the RSC 10. And what I learned was that she was kind, she was conscientious, and she stayed calm through just about anything that you could throw at her. So anyway, to the family, I would like to offer the condolences of the village council of McGarren.
I knew Kate, oh my goodness, I don't know how many years, either through my role as a reporter with the Courier, or in this role as an NLA, and she never changed. She was always kind and everywhere. People say I'm everywhere, well, she was everywhere, every event, everything. So I do remember particularly the Santa's Helpers, she always went to that and helped read out the pledges and things, and then the Every Child Matters, the Truth and Reconciliation Ceremony that we have every year here at the Point. So yeah, she's gonna be greatly missed. Very much so.
I didn't know Keith clear earlier, everything here, but I didn't know that or I was gonna miss her for sure, and the town of St. Andrews, you're gonna miss her.
Yeah, well, I didn't know her well, I got to know her through the board here, and you say that she was everywhere, and it's funny because I ran into her one evening in St. John at the grocery store, and then a week later, coming to RSC, I ran into her at Giant Tiger in St. Stephen, so it was kind of, I was like, Kate, where do you, and it was funny, because the last couple of meetings of the RSC, she took my phone number, and every time I met her at the Giant Tigers, or she'd go, do we have RSC tonight? Because she was just down there shopping. I said, yeah, okay, we do. And she said, oh, okay, then, yeah. And so I kind of missed those couple of times of her asking for his RSC to me. But no, on behalf of my council too, as Ken said, we send our deepest condolences, not only to Kate's family, but yeah, to the organizations that she belonged to, like Dollar, it's really going to take a a big step back and to the town of St. Andrews and the county that she served.
I had a fair state of face. St. Andrews and especially all of Sherman County has lost a remarkable community leader. Somebody who led with passion and with dedication for her hometown. Kate rose to the challenge in these last 11 months as mayor and was thrust into adverse circumstances as her town was divided on major issues. And she weathered these issues with profound courage, and probably as well, we could all appreciate she assumed much stress during this time. To Kate, rest in peace. You will never be forgotten by your friends, your family, and especially the town you called home and the town you represented and was a voice for many years.
Obviously, I knew Kate really well. He was truly a helpless individual for sure. Born and raised in St. Andrews, again, her impact, it'd be hard for us to find anybody in this town that's not been impacted in some way by her presence or volunteering. She was just truly great person. And some big shoes to fill here, and she is going to be greatly missed for a very long time here in St. Andrews.
Dorothy?
I knew Kate mostly through the RSC, but also Battle Ride, where she was, she was a top driver for Dial Line. She put on something like 40,000 kilometers a year, volunteer driving. And then after that, she kind of hung that up when she assumed the role of mayor, acting mayor of St. Andrews. I mean, she lived her life in service. She was a big advocate for First Nations. Life well lived, and she was going to be, it's a big role in St. Andrews.
Well, I've been in committee all week, or all month rather, and yesterday we had the Department of Indigenous Affairs up here. And I asked the critic if she would make a statement on behalf of our sympathy for her family and friends, and they didn't agree to it. So we did that before we started into questioning the minister about it, so I just thought it was appropriate that we do that, so I was glad that they did.
Thank you. And thanks to everybody for that. I would echo everybody's comments. I really met Kate through the RSC board, and I had a lot of respect for her and the way she was very kind, and that was very abundantly clear when you talked to her. But then the further you got into the conversation, the more I realized she does have that iron steel backbone, that she was gonna stand up for herself. I had an opportunity at a meeting here back in the fall I went up supper with her and Joyce from St. Stephen. And so the three of us Charlotte County girls were in the big city having supper. And it was just it was a nice experience to get to know everybody beyond the persona that people have sitting around the table. And I'm so glad I had that opportunity, and like everybody, on behalf of the Village of Grand Man, we extend our sympathies to Kate's family and to the town of St. Andrews as a whole, so. Yeah, it's a hard way to start, and it's just hard for everybody, so. I'm not even sure how to wrap this up, really, to jump into the next bit. It's kind of, I'm not sure how to make that transition, so if anybody wants to help me with that, feel free to jump in. Maybe we'll just take a breath, and then the next thing is the fun of our audited financial statements, which there's one extreme to the other, so. I'll turn that over to Hollis and Mark. I understand the auditors aren't able to make it this evening.
That's correct. Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got a statement from the auditors, which is the general statement, and then turn over to Mark for all of the fun stuff. So my letter from T. Saunders Doyle. Dear Hollis, during the course of our audit of Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission for the year ended December 31st, 2025, we identified matters that may be of interest to management. The objective of an audit is to obtain reasonable assurance whether financial statements are free of material misstatement and was not designed to identify matters that may be of interest to management. Accordingly, an audit would not usually identify all such matters. The matters identified were as follows. There's a weakness identified in segregation of duties. During the course of our audit, it was noted that accounting personnel has access to a banking token. Implications. This allows for transactions to be posted, approved, and paid all by the same individual. This increases the risk of misstatement both due to error and or potential fraud, as the transactions are not being reviewed and approved by another individual. The recommendation is to ensure that the banking tokens are kept separate from accounting personnel to ensure that a proper review of all transactions take place before payment is approved. This communication is prepared solely for the information of management, not intended for any other purpose. We accept no responsibility to a third party who uses this communication. So that's it. And if you want an explanation, the banking token, if you know what I mean. The reason is because our accounting office, she would have the token, we would put through the payroll. I wouldn't be at that office, so she would email me. Here's all it is, until I have your approval, and I email back approved, so we have it on record. But we're gonna change that process.
Any questions on the management letter and the response to that? Hearing none, then maybe we will move on to the financial piece of that.
Good. Guess I'll have to put on the auditor hat here now, because we'll go to the independent auditor's report, 3 pages in. So the auditors say they've audited the financial statements of the Brunswick or Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission, which comprises the consolidated statement of financial condition at December 31st, 2024.
Keep going.
25 should be.
Yeah. Unexpected.
Anyway. And the consolidated statements of operations, changes in net assets, remeasurement gains and losses and cash flows for the year. And the notes as well on significant account policies. So their opinion is a good audit opinion. Or clean audit opinion, as they will say. Says in our opinion, the accompanying financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the organization as at December 31st, 2025, and the results of its operations and its cash flows for the year that ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. Can't get any better than that. So this will be all the same audit report you guys can see for your municipalities. And it goes on to talk about the other things. So they aren't auditing to ensure there are no errors. They're auditing to ensure there are no material errors in the statements. So errors do happen. They may catch some of them. Some may be corrected or not. If they aren't material, I would have normally said that don't correct them. I don't think they found anything though. So.
What do you mean by material?
I was just.
Okay, so when they do the audit, they say, what amount of error in the statements would affect the decisions of financial statement users? So would it be 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, a million? Depends on the size of the entity. So as far as I know, there's no error over $1,000. Or 5,000, let's say. Just for comfort. So if it was a big error, I would have corrected the entries if they told me. So. That's what every audit is. It's not 100% guaranteed that there's no errors, but they didn't find any fraud or any malfeasance, anything like that.
And error, you're talking about something's posted to the wrong account, not.
Yes, that is an error of one kind, but it could be, it was a, let's say, a $20,000 engineering bill that was dated for September of 2025, so it should be in the year end, but we didn't get it. They may have held the invoice to the engineering firm and mailed it to us late. And so the audit was done, we didn't know about it. So that would be an error. If they came across it, it would go in their schedule of unadjusted errors, they call it. So if it's below, let's say materiality, for instance, was, I think it's, I don't know, I just guessed there. Let's say it was 60,000. They would not require us to change our statements because it wasn't a material error. $1,000 error wouldn't affect any of your decisions. Say, for instance, if we had a $200,000 surplus, it would either be 180 or 220, wouldn't be significant. So that's how the audit goes.
You good on errors?
Yeah.
Okay.
Next, we'll start on.
You have to approve it?
No.
No, we're just.
That's page one.
Yeah. Don't worry, Al, there's only, yeah, 38 to go.
Oh, we're not gonna read this to us in my last meeting. There's only 2 or 3 doors.
I only got a few notes here, so.
Just listen carefully.
All right, so the next page is our statement of operations, and this is not the statement you normally get. You normally get a funding model statement. So these are the public sector accounting statements. So for the year, our actual surplus was $87,521.
Okay.
What page, yeah.
Oh, page 4 as well. Yeah, so the annual operating surplus for the year is 87,000. Pretty well break even for public sector. Yeah. So it changed our surplus or our accumulated surplus slightly. Went up to 15,331,000 at the end of the year. The next page is a page you probably don't see in any other organizations you deal with. It's a statement of remeasurement gains and losses. And this has to do with because we had foreign exchange receivables and they're denominated in US dollars. And we have investments that change in value. So at the end of each year, they're remeasured at their fair market values. So if our accumulated gains on our investments are 400,000, that would be reflected in here. So our change for the year is 77,674. So that's how much we had for exchange gains. And at the end of the year, the total is 423,389. Next page, page 6, it's our statement of financial position. And this lists all our financial assets, which things are either cash or convertible into cash easily. The liability section, which is things we owe, which gives us net financial assets. And non-financial assets are the things that can't be converted to cash, like our tangible capital assets, land, buildings, equipment, things like that. So as of the end of the year, our accumulated surplus is 15,755,000. And it's broken down in the summary at the end between our operating surplus and our remeasurement surplus. And partway down through the page, we have asset retirement obligation. I'll get to that one in a couple minutes. The next page 7 is a statement change the net financial assets. Nobody wants to talk about that one. Or page 8, which is a statement of change in cash flows. The only thing I will talk about on that page is down under probably 2/3 of the way down under acquisition of tangible capital assets. We spent $1,777,000 this year. And we have no borrowing for it, it's all paid for out of reserves or our operating funds. And in that number, we bought a compactor for $1,230,000. We did $113,000 of work on cell 14. And there was GPS systems for various equipment was about 250,000. Along with there was some small equipment and some vehicles. So that's the highlight there. Didn't have to borrow, we got no debt. And I'd love to talk about those accounting policy notes on the next 4 or 5 pages, but we just skip that, just due to the shortage of time. The next one we'll go to is page 16 and 17. So page 16 is the start of the asset retirement obligation. That's our obligation to take care of the landfill after it's closed. So as we use up the volume of the landfill, we recognize whatever our estimated liability is at that time. So in the bottom of that first page, we have a asset retirement obligation carrying amount of $7,777,000 at the end of the year. And we have accumulated the unamortized asset retirement costs, which we amortize. So the net balance is $2,847,000. And over on the next page, that shows how we have funded it fully. Page 17. So there's enough money in investments in the banks to pay that at this point in time.
I was going to ask you what the lifespan of the landfill was, but I see that it's the existing site has a lifespan until 2150.
Yeah.
On this,
Yeah, because we have a lot of land, so we can keep building more cells and.
somebody else can work with that.
Yeah, the new guy, new girl, whichever one.
Yeah, you should leave him with us.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, page 19. And this is the note that shows what the accumulated surplus or deficit is by fund here. So in 2025, that's all the ones at the bottom, so. There's surpluses everywhere except for cooperative regional planning, which has a $3,800 deficit, not much. Economic development had an $89,000 deficit, and community development's got a little deficit, same with public safety. And our reserve fund balances at the bottom are $3,705,000. And they are broken down on page 26. There's one of those sideways pages. Oh,
you need glasses for it.
So this is money that's set aside for the future. So the big one is the solid waste capital reserve. There's $3,211,000 in there. There's $194,000 something in the solid waste operating fund, reserve fund, sorry. Local planning has $41,000 in the capital reserve and $175,000 in the operating reserve. And some of that operating reserve one was brought out this year as part of the budget. Actually, that's something I should do. Gotta take that out of the bank. Before you leave. Yeah. Gotta pass that motion. That'd be next month. Okay. Yeah, June, and there's some other little balances there, and the other big one is the regional transportation one, and that was the money for the vehicle. If it's gonna be purchased. If not, we just brought out year by year, either to buy something or keep the rate down to 0 in that fund. That would be my vision. Okay, and I think that's the biggest thing there. And all the other pages in the back are the detailed notes on the revenues and expenses. We're reading tonight and you can't sleep.
You want me to move to accept the audit as presented with the date change that you made at the first step?
No, in the audit report, yeah.
You heard the motion, do we have a second? Mark, John, questions? All those in favor? None for minded? Motion carried. Business horizon for previous meetings, I don't think we have anything under that. Nothing under new business, so then staff reports, and those are all part of the annual report.
So. I am staffed for the most part. Because. Our Mike's not here. I'm in between economic development directors. We have a tourism person here, but he wasn't here for 2025. And our community development director is in another meeting in October. So. Alex, hopefully you can help me out on planning stuff. So anyway, solid waste. In the annual report, you'll see here, just to go over some of the projects and things that happened. So we're doing some of the subgrade for cell 14 and some of the under drain site prep that happened in, last year. And started with groundwater collection under drain, so we're getting ready to start to build back some of them we need to. It was a very low area of the landfill, so there's a lot of heavy rock, there's a lot of work to do there ahead of time to use flooded. We did buy a new compactor. It's working out quite well. And we did some significant systems upgrade to the GPS stuff, which is connected to the compactor and can be connected to other things. Our tech person at the landfill is also a drone operator. We have a drone one now as well. So some of these things you're seeing is from drone service that we're now doing internally, and we do them much more often. So we can track the compaction and the geometry of the landfill on a much more regular basis. What that does means to more efficiency in what we're doing. Doing ongoing capping, of course, and I will mention too that when it comes to the capping and the open face, last year we didn't have any big significant fires that we have in past years, and a large part of that is attributed to keeping a very small open face on the working area, and we've spent a lot more time and concentration doing that. And I think that's paid off and not having that major fire. We'll see this year. We're prepared for it if we are. But that last year was successful success in terms of fire.
Good year to have a success given how dry it was last year.
Yeah. Well, this year it wasn't the same. You have a piece here on waste reduction, so you see there's some graphs here. For anybody that's watching this online, this annual report is going to be available for download tomorrow, in case you're wondering. So in recycling, you can see the various graphs of recycling in kilograms. White goods collection was quite successful last year. Eastern Charlotte wins that one with over 300 points collected. St. Stephen not far behind. And hazardous waste. These numbers are kilograms. Yeah, you get stories. So you can see a graph there of the numbers. The bottom represent the kilograms of hazardous waste that we will collect and properly dispose of.
We could feel,
Right, also because there was related.
We used.
do you feel the new, I should say, the fire suppression vehicle, is that coming quite handy?
We've used it a few times, yes.
So it's done its job.
It's done its job. And I will add to that, so we've upgraded the fire watch camera.
Right.
And it's got AI built in, so, and now it's hooked up to not only our SCADA system, but our internal camera systems. We've got cameras and things all over the site. Now it's hooked up to that. I can show you on the phone what the landfill looks like in infrared right now.
Oh, wow. Absolutely.
But that's important for early detection. Earlier that detection is earlier you take care of it, before it becomes a massive problem.
Exactly.
I'm disappointed though that we don't get the broadband this year. I'm sorry.
I'm sure they get my special.
You can come out anytime.
Any more questions on the solid waste report portion? Hearing none, we can move on to local and regional planning.
All right, it's through you, Madam Chair. So in 2025, the planning division worked on several major projects. We worked to update local plans to meet provincial regulations. Oh, perfect here. So that was the statements of public interest regulation, with several mayors have heard about. This was adopted in January 2023 by the provincial government. So we've been working to update your municipal plans, rural plans, zoning bylaws, to reflect the new regulations and your new municipal boundaries. In 2025, we were with the council, Funny Shores, so that bylaw finally was adopted and approved by the minister. The St. Stephen municipal plan zoning bylaw was adopted and approved by the minister. And we have worked with town of St. Andrews to have a draft that was ready for consultation, and that draft is going to be going to further consultations post-election. With St. Stephen in particular, there was a downtown facade improvement program developed with the town administration, and that program's already yielding some benefits. So it's very exciting for Mayor McEachran here to see some of these projects bear fruit. So if other communities are looking to do something like that, that's a similar model we can best practice we can share. In terms of last year, 2025, in terms of development values, this was the strongest year on record. We have been keeping track since 2019. And 2025, it was 59.3 million in construction value across the entire region. So that 2021 was the closest year, just shy of 100,000. So that's very good to see that happen. We have a kind of slightly lesser value in terms of building permit volume, more in terms of development permits, but what we're seeing is some of these building permits have been of higher value, a lot of commercial construction. Last year, in terms of regional planning, that cooperative regional service, we started to develop some of the more strategic objectives in terms of GIS. So we've been in the local planning division, we have a GIS technician who's supported by a senior planner. And they've been working on all kinds of projects, as you guys have seen fit. We just throw in there like a dirty shirt and try to help with projects. So we work with your economic development synergy. We work with Future St. Stephen. We work with Eastern Charlotte with your economic development team, and we just help as needed. And so that's been a highly successful project. And we've started some of the initial work towards asset management, supporting you guys with your asset management. That's a local project, but something which GIS, geographic information systems, mapping services can greatly assist. So we've been offering that, and we've been developing a database. One of the things that can really help that is natural asset inventory. So that's something which we've been working on. In terms of housing, 2025 saw a rebound from 2024, which was a bit of a dip. 154 new dwellings were permitted last year across the region. One thing which was a bit of a sad note is the Housing Accelerator Fund, HAF2, that's a federal fund through CMHC, was unsuccessful. We were bitterly disappointed, and I think some of the mayors wrote their displeasure to the federal government about that. A number of rural communities were left out, and we were unfortunately no exception. That would have been very nice to receive. However, we have supported nonprofits and other entities who are seeking to build non-market housing in other ways. So that's something that's still available, and we definitely worked on it last year, and we continue to work on that. So for example, if you're looking for dollars to, let's say, do an infrastructure project for, that's housing related, like you need a sewer system or a road connected. That's something which the Regional Service Commission has helped different municipalities, different nonprofits get some funding for. Building inspection enforcement, so this is something which has been a strategic objective of this board, is to enhance property bylaw enforcement across the region. 2025, there was 156 new enforcement files that were opened, and that was 46 above the previous year. So we've been increasing that. A cumulative of 251 properties since 2023 have been recorded as closed, meaning the file was opened as an enforcement case and it was closed for a variety of reasons. Number one reason is they realized they made a mistake, they came into compliance with the bylaw, fixed the issue. And these are enforcements related to, Building Code Administration Act, Community Planning Act, zoning, building code, but also the dangerous and unsightly bylaw. We have agreements with several local governments to deliver a dangerous and unsightly bylaw enforcement service. And we've seen major success. And one of the things that's great about it has been, we've seen exact examples where you enforce the dangerous and unsightly bylaw and that property cleans up, and then the property is ready for investment. Or they have to do a number of things. They have the property, they might have to sell the property because they, there's issues and they're not able to look after this anymore and it's falling down and become a hazard to the public. And they sell the property and the developer comes in, fixes up the building, and it's become a major asset to the community. So it's a big part of community revitalization to enforce some of these bylaws. And we've seen some major successes in certain cases. One little kind of, it's a little bit arcane, but it's very important and it can affect people's daily life in a big way, is the antenna sighting protocol. We were in 2014, this board decided to go with this thing called CRIMS, the Canadian Radio Communication. I don't even know the acronym completely off the top of my head, but there it is. Canadian Radio Communications Information Notification Service. It has actually gone defunct. It was a body that was created to handle cell phone tower approvals across the nation. It was an intermunicipal corporation. And we had Bell and others who were saying, we can't get a hold of these guys. What are we gonna do? So we just said, let's bring it back in-house. And this board in August of 2025 decided the Regional Source Commission would do the land use approvals for the cell phone towers. And it actually helps speed up the process quite significantly. Working with friends, it could have taken a couple of years to get a cell phone tower put up. Now we can get that down to a couple of months, and it's we've already seen some great successes. Just other.
Is it improving service?
I would hope so, because every tower that goes up, now you have better range and you have new coverage. So we've seen one in Pleasant Ridge that went up, and we were able to respond within days when they put in a request that, yes, this one is exempt. You don't have to go through a big consultation. We have another one that's in St. Stephen that's going to go through consultation right now. And it might be more of a bigger community discussion, whether or not it should go there or not. And that's the whole process, to make sure these cell phone towers go in place. It makes sense for the community. It makes sense for airports. They're not going to be in places that are inappropriate, but they're in places where we need them. So
For firefighting.
absolutely for firefighting. And so, yeah, like Route 3 was one, which I think our member of the Legislative Assembly really advocated for. So thank you very much for that work. But yes, we need more coverage. Yes, yeah. Yeah, the rural areas especially. But just carrying on, last thing, where the communities have needed it, Campobello, Fundy Shores, Gramnan, we provided a civic addressing service. So some local governments didn't have someone in the office that was able to do the civic addressing, or was a bit of a complication. Well, we were able to provide that as just an add-in to the development officer service. So we've been able to provide that. That concludes the report. Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
I have to excuse myself. I'm really sorry, I gotta go. I got another event I gotta be at.
Thank you for coming. We do appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that covered, local regional planning, so we can move to economic and workforce development.
So there's significant movement in 2025 in our economic development department. Healthcare recruitment and business support, investment readiness across the region. Under workforce development, with some funding secured for our zonal integration resource and feasibility study was completed. The plans for implementation in 2026. There's been ongoing support for employers adapting to changes in immigration policy, and there was some information sessions and improvement alternatives. There were several youth opportunity expos and regional employment fairs and HR training sessions across the region. There was hundreds of students and employers that were engaged in those activities. And the actual stats, our update showed an increase in jobs and salaries and business activity despite there being a slowdown for the last part of the year. Under healthcare recruitment and community promotion, there was financial and housing support provided to attract and retain nurse practitioners and family physicians. There was a registration and promotional events, including some collaboration with Dalhousie Medical School to attract some new medical graduates. I believe that happened right here at the Algonquin. And they developed a welcome package for newcomers to the region and healthcare professionals and new residents. Under business support, there was a regional buy local campaign and some branding workshops for local businesses that were held. And there was the business summit that happened last year, was another success, the second year for it. And by all measures was a big hit. And there was some support early on, provided some businesses that were impacted by tariffs. There were some webinars and some direct support. Back especially in the early days when nobody knew where it was going. And there was some collaboration with some government partners on that. Under the investment readiness portion, there was some economic development projects that included the Ocean Innovation Park, and so there was a feasibility study for that. And we also started our study for regional airport. We developed a GIS tool and dashboard for site selection and investment attraction. You may see that on our website. We provided data and project support to municipalities, community partners for housing, workforce, and transportation. Outside of that, there's some challenges in the forestry sector that were addressed. That was due to increase in layoffs, increased layoffs and tariffs. And there's ongoing support for impacted workers and businesses. And we'll continue to monitor and respond to changes in employment trends and workforce needs. You'll see that bi-weekly jobs list go up on our website as a piece of that. So 2025 was a year of adaptation and growth for the Southwest. Despite economic and policy challenges, collaborative efforts among government, community partners, and businesses led to sustained development and some new opportunities. So that laid a lot of groundwork for this year's positions and continued progress in 2026.
Any questions on the economic development report? Okay, we're gonna move right on to community development.
Community development. Stick to the highlights. The report will be available for download tomorrow. But so the regional community development collaboration in 25, we continue to work closely with Horizon Health community developers and regional resiliency coordinators. So it became a team between those three departments to community development issues. Overcoming Poverty Together 4 was finally released by Economic Social Inclusion Corporation. And so that provides a lot of the mandate for our community development, and because that's where the large part of our funding comes from, is Economic Social Inclusion Corporation. A lot of work was done there. We had a good event in Eastern Charlotte, actually, where we went through some of the priority items and action items for there. There was grants through Economic Social Inclusion Corporation, the Boys and Girls Club benefited, Little Center benefit. Charlotte Isle Ride, of course, they're our major, benefactor, benefactee. I get that word right? Yeah. Major person we give money to. And there's about 7 additional projects were developed in the winter. They start this year. We continued with our grant writing support with our grant writing person. Under that, our grant writer worked with 106 organizations, supported 63 projects, and facilitated 99 funder connections for these organizations. There's also been a lot of support for nonprofit, developed pathways and knowledge sharing, collaboration with regions nonprofit sector, newsletters, workshops. There's like some governance workshops and things like that that were held. Various meetings with municipalities and residents. The newsletter continues to grow. Board governance workshops had 22 participants, and we want to increase engagement 2026 through some more lunch and learns for nonprofits in the community. And under community transportation, which falls under our community development folder, we did do a scan. We got some funding. We did do a scan through Stiletto, like what the options are in Southwest for transportation. And there were some recommendations out of that, but the primary focus was supporting Charlotte Dollar Ride. They provide rides for those with access to transportation. In 2025, Dollar Ride provided 10,411 drops. And that represented 8,700 volunteer hours and 319,000 kilometers of volunteer driving, which is, I know what some of the other rest of them are doing around the province, and this is up there. They're doing phenomenal work. So to support this board supported the idea of giving them a minivan that we did last spring. And they have made astonishingly big use of that van. So we're gonna have to actually have conversations about what the replacement of the van looks like, because they're probably gonna have that worn out in 2 or 3 years. It's been used so much, and it's been such a big help to them. I do want to take this opportunity when we're speaking about Dial Ride as well. They recently lost their executive director. She passed away. So they're going through a couple of hits at Dial Ride with the executive director and with Kate. So any support from the community, I'm sure will be appreciated. They're working through it. They're still working, always going with their drives. But, kind of a tough time. It's my report. Sure.
Any questions on community development?
Could I ask about the grant writing? That's wonderful. I mean, you had 106 organizations that you work with, you charge a fee for this? They're non-profit, they just come and say, we need help, we want to apply for this funding or that funding?
Yeah, anybody that's struggling or needs help, they can just contact us and we got a guy.
We got a guy, okay, you know a guy. You know a guy, all right. Good, thank you.
No, the grant writer has helped me with Charlotte. I was at the curling banquet. This St. George curling banquet the other night. They spoke very highly of the curling in St. George this past year. So can't say enough good things. You're doing a great job.
And this Dial Ride organization is amazing. I remember when they tried, they had a bus route between St. Stephen and St. John, and it would go through all the little communities. You could never get to St. John in time for an appointment or whatever. So Dial Ride is amazing.
Yeah.
As you say, with the volunteers, and so I think that's money or a donation well spent on the van. It's helping a lot of people, not only seniors, but families that need to get maybe their kids to certain appointments for health reasons, so. Good job.
They've been really great across the region, and even with some of our more remote islands, they've been a real asset to us before. Okay, community development, once, twice. Okay, tourism promotion it is.
There's the motion. So, in the report, it's just an overview of the major activities and things that happen, but I do want to note that we did have a significant shift in our tourism strategy last year, about halfway through the year, a little less. So that means that the first part of the year is reflected in this report. But we're doing things differently now, and it's going very well so far. So I just want to make a note of that. But as far as what we did last year, we launched a winter campaign to spotlight some regional holiday events. There was some co-investment with Tourism New Brunswick, so some collaborative summer campaigns. There was some travel influencers that were engaged, and they curated some itineraries, and they published some online stuff. We have our own influencer now, but this is what we did last year. There was a paid partnership for the Winter Warmer Festival, and it reached probably 66,000 people. Under travel trade, partnered with Tourism NB to deliver travel trade readiness workshop and mentorship program for international markets. That helps our supply chain, represented the region at Rendezvous 2025, which is a national event, connecting local suppliers to national and international buyers. The website was launched, the phase 2 of the website was launched, and that is now live. And there's some updates. We did start work on a tourism guide and map. It did not get completed. We're going to go back at that in coming months. And there was some promotional video that was shot by Hemmings House last year as well. And we did use that in some of our online promotion. And we still have that for other stuff that we're going to use. And that's the report for closing.
Questions on the tourism report? Hearing none. We have financial report. But didn't we do that? Is that separate from the audit? Mark is nodding.
That's our quarterly report.
Okay.
It'll be quick. On the quarterly financials within the March. So we have our usual graphs in there to show you where the tonnage is so far compared to the last 3 years. So the industrial, consumer, institutional at the top is actually up 4.4% compared to the same time last year. The municipal solid waste, the bottom half of that page, it is down by 1.6%. The US waste at the top of the next page, it is down 5.3% from where it was. The C&D tonnage is just always all over the board, so it's actually 22.3% higher than it was year to date the previous year.
Let's see.
Construction and demolition waste.
Thank you.
Yeah, the first one is industrial, consumer, or industrial, commercial, and institutional waste, and the MSW is municipal solid waste. We separate them out. Cover material, that's stuff that we buy or we charge for, that can be used to cover the garbage. It's alternative daily cover.
Is that the size?
Yeah, whatever, where the open face is or where the waste is, we have to cover it. So this material, we can use it as cover material, plus get some revenue for it. So. And it's up 14% from previous quarter, previous year. Western Valley, it's tonnage coming from the RSC to the northwest, because they don't have a landfill, so half that comes to us, half goes to northwest. And for some reason, they're way up, so they're up 8.7% compared to the same time last year. And their waste is always loaded at the first part of the year anyway. Because when the roads are good, they're going north, and it's a shorter drive paths. So that's why more of it comes in January, February, March, April. Those percentages are all on the next page. And back to the balance sheet again, our statement of financial position. So this is the one to the end of March. So it looks basically the same as what it did at the end of December. And our current surplus for the 3 months is $122,416. No money's come out of the reserves yet this year. We're going into them, and the next page is the summary income statement, so. At the very bottom, it lists what our surpluses are by our funds. So solid waste has got 152,000, but it's the time of the year when we haven't done capital expenditures yet, so. Local planning's got a little deficit, or regional planning hasn't got much, regional tourism's got a little surplus. Regional economic development, they have a $15,000 deficit. Community development's got a small deficit, same with regional transportation, and public safety's got a deficit, because that was the balance on the Fire Smart program going through. Well, that's basically our share of the Fire Smart in the last 2 payments. So overall, we got $122,000 surplus, and it's early in the year, kind of, a lot of stuff hasn't been done. It's like the local planning one, we got a deficit of 10,000, but there's 60,000 supposed to come out of the reserve fund, so. If you went to the end of March, 15, so really got $5,000 surplus in local planning. But like I say, early in the year, and the expenses are all summarized on the next few pages. Anybody got any questions? All
I'd like to thank you, Mark, for all of you've been here as long as I've been here, and I appreciate your work on doing our budget, but I also appreciate your knowledge of the operations and how that reflects the numbers. It's not just numbers to you, it's the whole operation.
Yeah, all blends together somewhere.
Yeah, it does, but
Yeah.
your understanding of that helps us understand it, and you'll be missed. I won't be here to see who replaces you, but you get some pretty big
Yeah.
shoes to fill there, so I appreciate.
Yeah. I'll still be around for a few more months, I think.
Now, I. Bye. Thank you.
Yeah, you're all.
Anyone else on the financial report? Hearing none. Question and answer with the public.
We'll do not. Let me go.
Hearing none, I'm looking for motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, I also like to thank you, Madam Chair.
We have another meeting, so don't be too late.
No, I'll wait.
Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Alright. And all in favor? All right, are we closing the Western or just gonna keep on rolling to the next one?
This won't take long, so.
All right, so right under that, you have our annual general meeting agenda. So I would like to call the annual general meeting of the Southwestern Brunswick Service Commission to order. It is 6:35 p.m. We have a quorum, and I didn't do this at our board meeting, but I would like to acknowledge that Kathy Balkus, the NRA Filiary, has joined us, so thank you for being here, Kathy. And I also didn't acknowledge that Mayor Cogswell had an active bravery this past week. Rescue stage off, so I think we need to acknowledge his heroic effort, because that is that.
Team effort, I was only part of a very small part of the team, so no, thank you, but we don't do good. No.
And modest too.
That,
Heck of a mom thing. Maybe build anytime.
is any conflict of interest declarations? Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda? Moved by John, seconded by Al. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. Adoption of the minutes of the AGM of April 24th, 2025. Pam, seconded by Harvey. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Carried. The chairperson's report is in the front of the annual report. I am not going to read it because I'm not. I would like, I do want to thank Carlos for putting together the report and both the chairperson's report, but the whole annual report. There's a lot of work that goes into that. A lot of work goes into operating the service center over the service commission over the course of the year. And so I just want to acknowledge that and thank Kim and the staff for all of their efforts on that. So with that, I'm looking for a motion to accept the audited financial statements.
I'm so.
For the motion, Jim, we have seconds. Seconded by Harvey. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. We also need a motion to appoint the auditors for 2026. Motion by Harvey, seconded by Alan. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. And our final motion is to delay the election of Board of Officers until the first regular meeting after the local government elections in 2026, as per 2.4.1 of the Southern New Brunswick Service Commission bylaws.
I'll move to delay the election of board officers until the first regular meeting after local government elections in 2026, as per 2.4.1 of the service budget bylaws.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. CEO statement?
I'll keep this brief because I'm hungry, I'm sure you all are too, but I do want to acknowledge that this is the last meeting of this board as in this format. I kind of wish it wasn't. This board works extraordinarily well together. It's been a pleasure. For those of you coming back or those of you that are going into elections, I wish you all the best of luck. Those of you that are hanging your hat up, totally understand, wish you were staying, but I get it. And those of you that are clean, I'm glad you're coming back. This has been, and I've seen the contrast now firsthand with another service commission. And there is something special. You've heard Ron say that before. And so this group, I really appreciated working with you guys. I think it's a good relationship back and forth. And hopefully we can continue that after the elections with the new folks, and we're hoping you will help the new folks along and understand what this thing is, because I'm sure it takes a while to figure that out. I also want to acknowledge that Mark here, this is probably his last NGM.
Well, not necessarily.
Well, we'll see, but.
They might not let you do it.
Mark has helped me since I've been here for 8 years. I get through all the budgeting, all of the audits, all the end of year stuff, all of the stuff. So thank you, Mark. I really do appreciate your attention to detail of it. But it's been extraordinarily helpful. Yep.
Thank you. Anybody trying to look at a question now? How many do we have to ask again? In the last 2 minutes?
I don't know. What do you?
All right, so with that, I'm looking for motion to adjourn. Thank you, John. Let's eat.
Sorry, yes, he said.
In all seriousness, thank you, everybody. I didn't know, starting out here 5 years ago, I had not, well, actually, what I did know about the service commission was not good.